Here it is, the all-new Moto Q9M. The M is for media on Verizon. Just arrived today. See, the box is not too bad in terms of bullets and whatnot. Let's open it up, see what we have inside. Aha, there's the device. That red metal rim around the edge is actually really slick. We'll rip off the plastic here. You can see it's very, very reflective. And they've got actually extra plastic on the keyboard too. Now when I checked this out at CTIA, I was actually really happy with the keyboard. I thought it was much better than the old Q keyboard, and I have to say my my opinion still stands. The paint on the buttons is actually a sort of a weird mix of soft touch and something else. It's actually really kind of grippy almost, and it just good travel on the keys, feels really good. And more plastic around the back and so on. Let's see what else we include in the box here. Read me first, very nice, shows you the new home screen and so on. Battery. So you might as well pop that in here and see if it ships with a charge. Give it a whirl. Charger. Sync cable. Looks like a little cover. Not really a full-on case, but more of just a little leather sleeve for it. And not too impressed myself there. Battery cover, manual, CD, and that's it. Noticeably absent any sort of headphones. Looks like they're really serious about getting you to use Bluetooth stereo headphones, which I actually kind of approve of. We'll slap the battery cover on here so we can get a full feel for what the device is like. Soft touch paint on the back. On the side here we've got the classic Q scroll wheel and a back button. Rim here. Here's your mini SD card slot right there. And again on the top we have a 2.5mm headset jack. Camera on the back with a flash, speaker on the bottom, classic Q styling. Very nice. It's still booting up, that's alright. So let's compare this to some other comparable devices. Of course, the first one I want to compare it to is its predecessor, the Motorola Q. This is the Verizon version, so it's fitting that they go together. You can see they're very similar in terms of overall form factor. In terms of width, I suppose you could say the Q9M is just a little bit wider, although if you compare it to that bar, it's not. And height, virtually identical. And thickness also virtually identical, and the same basic design cues overall. The back button, the scroll wheel, the little speaker hump on the back, camera, and so on. You lose the IR port, but whoop-de-doo. Both still use mini SD, which is convenient. Both still have the 2.5mm headset jack at the top, and both have the buttons with a little bit of a plastic in between them. But aesthetically, it's no contest, of course. The Q9M is much better looking and also much better feeling overall. The original Q feels really chintzy and plasticky to me. The keyboard is horrible, as I mentioned in my my keyboard smackdown. But the keyboard on the Q9M is superb. As I mentioned earlier, it's got this really nice grippy feel to it. The buttons that are more clearly distinguished here on the main device, and it's got this nice metal rim around the edge of it. So in terms of looks, it's no contest. Like I said, the Q9M is much better than the original Q. Now, where the Q9M doesn't necessarily stack up all that well is when you compare it to other QWERTY smartphones. So, for example, you can see that it is a little bit taller and a little bit wider. When people call the Q9M a slab device, they really mean it. It is pretty slabby. The other thing is that, you know, the dash has got this nice curved edge on the back of it, making it feel much smaller overall. whereas the Q is very, very blockish. You might even say brickish, and so it definitely doesn't feel as nice. Although the scroll wheel much better than this silly little touchpad volume slider on the dash. So overall, I think the Q9 is a more usable device than the dash, but for that extra usability, you get some extra size. Now, I don't think it compares favorably to the Blackjack. Blackjack is much less wide, about the same thickness, although the dash does have that, or I'm sorry, the Blackjack has that little camera hump on the back. The screen on the Q9 is bigger than the screen on the dash by or on the Blackjack, just a little bit. Both feel decent to type on. I think the Q9 has got a little bit better keyboard than the Blackjack, but it feels much bigger than the Blackjack, and so it doesn't really compare favorably there, which is a surprise. Compare it to a Pocket PC Edition phone, the Trio 750 on AT&T. You can see it's much thinner, although again wider. And so on, but different devices, different purposes. I still think the Trio keyboard is the best of breed, but I might change my mind after I start to use the keyboard on this Q9 for a while. And last, of course, we should probably compare it to the iPhone. So let me grab that. And you can see again, it's much wider, about the same thickness, but again, it feels more brickish overall because of the curvature on this phone here. Okay, so let's zoom in now and take a look at this new media screen that's on the Q9. Alright, so I zoomed way in here so you can get a feel for the Today screen. It's actually really slick. As you can see on the left-hand side here, we have controls, so back, play pause, next, playlist, and full screen. And then on the right, you've got your different options. So on the top is music, and then photos, a shortcut link to your camera, shortcut link to VCast music, and then a little doohickey to adjust your volume. So let's take a look at photos to start with. We'll click on photos, and it jumps right into a photo, and you can go into your playlist to choose a specific album if you want. So we'll choose this album I have of my godson and pick the first picture. And there it is. And then you can hit play and it'll start a little slideshow. There's that, and you can hit next to go to the next one, and so on and so forth. And then you can also go down to full screen to pop it up on full screen, and it will continue on with the slideshow. There you go. And so that's actually a really easy, convenient way to get to your pictures relatively quickly. I like it a lot. Next up, let's take a look at the music interface. So we'll choose the music media option. It's going to jump into music. We'll go down into playlists here, and you see you've got a list of all your music options, shuffle, repeat, and so on. So we'll go into music. I haven't loaded any videos on here yet, and of course you can choose by album, artist, or if you've got playlists loaded on there, you can choose by playlist too. We'll go by artist, and let's see. Let's go to the Hold Steady, and let's start it off with a Positive Jam. And so it'll start playing that. There it goes, and you might be able to hear that in the background, but I'm not going to move the microphone. The sound is actually really nice for a couple little speakers on a phone. So, of course, if you've got A2DP Bluetooth headphones, you could listen to it that way too. And, of course, you can jump down to the next track and so on and so forth. So it's actually really kind of neat. Not a whole lot else to show there. It just sort of plain works. The other thing I wanted to show you about the Q9 is if you go into the Start menu, you'll see that Verizon saw fit to get little specialized icons rather than the standard Windows Mobile 6 icons. So it really looks a lot better. And one of the nice things about that is they've added in some little extra features and shortcuts. So for example, here's Personalize My Q. And we can jump in there and see you can personalize the soft keys on the home screen, change some settings there. You can change the Start menu view and so on. And if we scroll through some more options here in the Start menu, we've got a shortcut to some Bluetooth options. There's your settings, of course. Noticeable, the full version of Documents to Go is included on the Q9M, which means you can create Office documents right from the get-go, and it's a little bit more powerful than the standard Windows Mobile 6 Office suite. So I really appreciate that they put that in there. And we can go on here, standard tasks and so on and so forth, speed dial. Actually, one really neat thing, go into accessories here, they got that cute little bow tie icon. When you go inside the folder, the icon for the folder shows up there in the lower right-hand corner to give you a visual cue of what folder you're in, so that's really convenient. And they've got this neat little audio enhancement application where you can go into the settings for your headset or your speaker and set the surround sound and the bass and the clarity, so that's pretty clever, I guess. And then, of course, the modem link, so you can use dial-up networking over the 3G here, so that's really nice. And I suppose that is about it for the specialized stuff in the start menu. I mean, the main thing is that they put some shortcuts to some important settings here and there. Like, for example, inside Bluetooth here, you can jump right into your Bluetooth manager or even into the app to send files over Bluetooth, which is really kind of neat. And there you go. It's the Q9M interface. Pretty straightforward, but a little bit better than the standard Windows Mobile 6. So I'm overall pretty pleased with that.